One man's trash is another man's treasure. At this point, it's almost cliche, but if I'm being 100% honest, I love catching trash fish from the pier. Bluefish, jacks, ladyfish, whatever it is. If it eats a big lure, I'm interested in catching it. In today's video, we're chasing a migration that rarely hits South Florida. Next, we'll dive into other trash fish migrations, and we'll compare them to the traditionally more desirable species. Finally, we'll test out whether this fish actually tastes like garbage. Or just maybe, we'll find out that for the last 25 years, I've been missing out on something.
Good morning, everyone. Just pulled up to the pier. There has been a good amount of fish caught, at least yesterday there was. So I'm going to load up all my junk into the cart, get out there, head it up. It's going to be mega windy, so apologies in advance for any rough audio, but I'm going to do my best to bring you guys along for the story. Hopefully, we're going to get on some big ones today.
Even windier out here than I thought. I got you guys shielded right now, but the water is pretty dirty, not a lot dirtier than it was yesterday when they were finding big schools of gator bluefish coming through. But I do see some dead ones on the deck, so I definitely know that they're around. We just gotta hope the sun maybe peeks out and we'll have some better visibility, or someone just pulls one on bait and we'll be able to cast in that area and maybe hook one on a lure. But got a couple rods rigged up, ready to go. And who knows, could be a lot of fun stuff happening today. Check it out. Gonna be throwing this literal hunk of metal. So this is what's called a GT ice cream. Pretty much like a topwater lure that's filled with water. Typical diamond jigs don't sit on the top as good. They don't displace the water as well. So these actually come into play, and they've pretty much replaced what we used to do back in the day, where we would drill a hole in the topwater plug and put a bunch of BBs in it. Because you want something slow moving on top a lot of the time, and these big blues love to choke them. Also replaced the typical treble hook that I use with a BKK Lone Diablo. That's because the way bluefish eat sometimes, man, a treble hook, they're gonna get every single hook in their mouth, and it's impossible to unhook them and get back at the action. So single hook is really the way to go for these big bluefish, in my opinion. Just easier to unhook them. You don't really have a problem catching them. 100-pound Silk Ocean fluorocarbon leader, and on my Van Staal 200 I am fishing Silk Ocean PE4, really thin diameter, cast super far, and plenty of strength to catch these fish, even flip them on the pier if I need to.
Wow, should have brought the 10-foot out of the truck. This is not good.
So my original plan was to pretty much sight fish these things, which means staring at the water until I see a school of bluefish, casting out, presenting a lure to them, and then hooking up. But with the conditions that were presented to us, I wasn't sure that that was actually gonna happen.
So you guys can definitely hear it, but when you move over to the corner, you're just getting whipped in the face with wind. Makes it really hard to cast far because you're casting literally into the wind. And I'll tell you what, over where my cart is, I'm hot in all this clothing, and over here, I'm freezing. It's just, the wind just cuts right through you.
Well, I thought I was filming, but I wasn't. They just came through. I just caught a monster. They're still around, so I'm gonna try and catch another one. Oh, shit. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We got him. I can't believe that worked.
That was a wing and a prayer.
Yeah, that was literally a prayer. I was like, well, I feel a little weight in there. Phew.
Keeping them?
I got one, so I'm gonna keep mine. I'm just gonna meander on in here.
There you go. Right
And 7 times. Oh, they're out there. Got him, y'all. Came up and just cracked it. Woo! These are big ones too. Ew! Ew! Oh man. Pure mayhem. Absolute pure mayhem right now. Oh, tight right there too.
On the flare hawk, right?
Well, they definitely in a flare hawk. This guy's never fished on a pier before.
You know, karma's a funny thing because right after talking smack to my buddy, I lose this fish. Mainly because of stupidity, because I shouldn't have tried to flip this thing and had my part of my shock leader with like, it was only 40-pound mono, ended up breaking.
Well.
All right, there we go. That is a stud bluefish. These guys got really, really sharp teeth if you guys look right there. Chopping a lot of people off. They'll chew through your leaders, and they are super aggressive. They were blown up out of the water, absolutely clobbering the lures, and not actually getting hooked a lot of the time, but you see these things were all over my lure that I literally hooked this one in the butt. Just accidentally snagged him, but crazy fish. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bleed this guy out, and I'm gonna try eating one of these things for the first time ever. So we'll see. Should be a lot more of these things to catch throughout the day. And if these things are around, there's gonna be other fun stuff around. So we're gonna try it out. We're gonna see if we can catch some cool stuff.
So basically what had happened in that mayhem was one person was blind casting. That is just casting a lure into nothing. Didn't know that there was any fish there. And he happened to hook up. And these bluefish swim in schools. So once one person hooks up, most of the pier knows that there's gonna be more there. So everyone starts casting around that area and the entire school comes to the surface, which just leads to absolute mayhem. After a couple minutes, another school came through and mayhem started again.
I think there's a couple fish over here. Whoa, zing pow.
I don't want to lose this plug.
Just wait for a net. Oh my God. Oh, they're blowing it up. Oh, oh. Like 10 people hooked up right now. Oh my God, they're hitting my plug with it in another's mouth. Coming over. Ew. Ew. Oh my God, they're monsters. They're monsters. Oh my God. There we go, that's what we wanted. We need a double net.
Oh shit, maybe a triple. Oh, look at them all.
Typically, you only want to put one fish in the net at a time. But in times like this, there's only a few nets for the whole pier and there's many people hooked up. So you got to do what you got to do. Me and the other guys on the fish right now are just, all we're trying to do is get our fish in the net and not tangle with the other guys fighting fish. Because if our braids tangle, it's very likely that they'll break off and we'll lose our lure and lose our fish.
Okay, bring him in. You got one.
Yeah, oh, we got one on the lure.
Jordan, come on.
We got two.
Free spool.
Free spooling for sure. We got 3 fish, 1 net coming in. This is ridiculous. Oh, we got another plug. Oh my God, that's an abomination. Stay away from the hooks. Hey, nice work.
Good work, brother.
Let's go.
Well done.
This one's out of commission for a second. Wow. That was incredible. I can't believe we pulled that off.
All right, check it out. That is number 2 on the deck for today. Hooked a bunch, but man, these things can get off. They just jump off, freak out, pull the hooks, cut you off. I literally had like 10 other ones trying to eat the lure out of this one's mouth. But these things are a ton of fun. Whole pier just hooked up. Just awesome fish. And see how it ends up tasting.
This is a normal sized one. The ones we're getting are like 5 times the size. This is what we normally catch here in Florida. Almost never see the giants, but good to see the giants. Hopefully they come back.
So like I was actually saying in that last clip, these big fish are very rare here in South Florida. You typically don't see them every year. Honestly, I think it's been about 5 or 6 years since we've seen them consistently. And it's such a treat for us because of how rare they are. Now, guys from the Northeast may catch these things all the time, but when a 5-pounder is a big fish in Florida, it's such a welcome sight that you can get into these 10 to 15 pound fish. I think the biggest fish I saw weighed was right around 15 pounds. So it's just a treat to see these big, nasty bluefish in big schools. After those 2 schools in the morning came through, the bite pretty much died for the afternoon. There really weren't that many things going on. There weren't that many schools of fish coming through. Everyone just kind of hung out and BS'd for a couple hours. And that's one of the allures for pier fishing for some people. It's just as much about hanging out and, swapping fish stories as it is actually catching fish.
Okay, y'all, so this is how you know you need to get a bigger cooler when your fish don't really fit. I had to go literally buy extra ice, and my buddy's bringing a bigger cooler, but until then, this is how I'm rocking.
After a few hours, my buddy Blair pointed out to me that there was a big school off the corner and no one was reaching it, at least no one that we saw.
Why can no one else? We got 50 people here that no one can cast?
I don't think they can either.
Got no room. Let me sneak in here.
You got that diamond jigger?
Yeah.
Oh, you're in. Oh, yeah. You're in. Oh, yeah. He's going to start it.
Oh! 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 Absolutely kapowed on it. Bringing the fish in for the whole pier. Oh, he's off. Oh, they're chasing me still.
Juno Ryan saves the day.
Oh, they're still on me. Oh, we just started the chaos. We started the chaos. Oh my God, they're everywhere.
Drag him in, boy.
Here they come. Here they come. Coming to the right, over your head. Oh my gosh, look at these monsters. Oh my gosh, look at these things. Oh my gosh, coming to the right.
Let me get over here.
Coming to the right. You good? There we go. Nice. Oh. Oh. Oh my. Oh. He was in there. There we go. Thanks, brother. Woo! Somehow got out of that. That was lucky. All right, well, they kind of stopped coming through. Pretty much slowed down. We've been freezing our butts off out here, but we did get a couple in the cooler, so no complaints there. Got to see a bunch blow up on the lures. Ton of fun. Probably caught my biggest one of all time. And now we get to try and eat them for the first time ever. Let's see how that's gonna turn out. We got a couple mackerel out there following this. Let's see if they actually eat it. Oh! Oh, instant ladyfish. See if he stays on. Watch your heads.
Big ladyfish. Oh, that was easy.
Was. That is a big ol' pier ladyfish. People get really annoyed with these, especially when you're pompano fishing, because they will constantly fray you off, you know, chafe through your thin leader when you're pompano fishing. But when there's nothing else around, it's kind of cool. And they also make a really, really good cut bait if you want cut bait, because they're real oily. People love them for snook, tarpon, redfish, whatever. But I'm gonna make this guy's day. Let him go. So I have a little, I guess, story to tell you guys, talk about. On my very first tuna fishing trip, I was fighting a giant big eye tuna. And midway through the fight, I started cramping up so bad. Like my forearms were just absolutely insanely tight, cramping up. And it got to the point that after I caught that big fish and I was trying to fish the rest of the day, I almost couldn't because my arms kept cramping. This past trip, I actually didn't run into cramping at all, and I was fighting some big fish, fishing all day long, spending all day on the boat. And really the only difference in the trip was the fact that I was hydrating properly. One of the things that I was using was these Protect packets. I don't think I've tried this flavor before. This is watermelon. That was pretty good. I like that one. Protect is the sponsor of today's video. Protect's a veteran-owned and operated supplement company. They make everything from hydration to energy to immunity to rest. The entire line of supplements have been great. Everything that I've used, I've loved. But my two favorites have been the hydration and the energy. It makes your water taste a little bit better and also hydrates you simultaneously. And hydration, for me, sets the tone for everything that I'm about to do, from fighting big tuna offshore to spending all day out here on the pier. If I'm hydrated, I'm gonna put myself in the best position to actually take advantage of the few fishing opportunities that present themselves. If I'm dehydrated, I typically feel a little bit lazier, more sluggish, and I don't make the best decisions. I don't take advantage of the big opportunities. Protect also has a whole line of sunscreens and other products. Not enough time today to talk about all those things. But if you guys are interested in any of the Protect products, you guys can use my code RYANMORIE to save 30% off at checkout, or just go to protect.com/RYANMORIE. That's protect.com/RYANMORIE to save 30%. Plus, you can save an additional 15% if you subscribe. Let's get back to fishing.
Now, this next migration of fish typically happens in the springtime, along with tons of other species. But these fish, considered by many to be trash, hold a special place in my heart. You can see them swimming on top here. These are giant Jack Crevalle in a giant school, casting out a very similar lure to like I've been using in this video. You're gonna see us hook up to some giants.
Get him, Ryan. Get him for Aaron. Get him for Aaron.
Got it.
They on me? They on me? They on me? They on me?
Yeah, they on.
Come on. Woo! There we go. We on. We on. Woo! I'm underneath you, brother.
That's cool.
On the metal. Just a hunk of metal flying through the air. Just keep reeling in, guys. I don't know where the f anyone is. Whew.
Now this video isn't a great example of it, but when these big jacks are coming through, the hardest part isn't actually hooking them. It's actually not that hard to hook them. The hardest part is landing them, because not only do you have to worry about the fish, you know, doing what it does, breaking you off, you know, breaking your line, going underneath the pier, you also have to deal with all the other anglers. So you have to deal with the tangles, you have to deal with getting around people, going over people's stuff, going under, over as the fish goes up and down the pier. So what you need to do when you're fighting these bigger fish is keep it directly in front of you. You can't plant your feet and just fight it from one position. You have to keep that fish directly in front of you and follow it where it goes while still fighting it and putting a good amount of tension on them. These days, there's a bunch of bull sharks that also follow these fish, so that's even an added challenge factor because you never know when a bull shark's going to come up and try and eat it. So, as you see here, I have a good group of guys that's helping to clear the pier for me to keep people out of my way, and I'm able to get this fish in an area that we can safely get a gaff down.
Yeah, dude. Nah, yeah. Skew! Tangle with that thick rope?
No. Jam it highlighter.
Oh, we got a whole rig in there.
Yeah, highlighter through his rig in there.
This one we're gonna harvest today, y'all. So he is getting gaffed. Maybe, maybe not. In the head. Excellent gaff shot.
Hey Ryan, I heard all about you.
Whew, I don't know by where. It was probably not good things either.
It's the mahi from Japan, boy.
Dude. Hell yeah. Hey, thanks, man.
Welcome back, buddy.
Hey, thanks for the call, too.
Yeah.
Blair called me up yesterday and said, hey, man, your favorite fish is on the pier. I said, cobia? He said, no, jacks.
Cobia's overrated.
No, these things actually pull drag. Cobia just swim to the pier and then freak out when you gaff them.
See that cardio?
That's it.
So that is what I've been after for a little bit now. A lot of people call these things trash, but they fight so hard. One of my favorites, we're gonna use this guy for some bait today. So he's coming home, but just a awesome fish. To see him cruising on top, cast out a plug, or cast out a diamond jig, and watch it absolutely crush it on top after like a, I don't know, 15-second chase. Awesome, man. Like it's essentially like America's version of a GT, and GTs are popular all over the world. So just super stoked, and there's a lot coming through today, so I hope we catch a lot more. So why is it that some of these fish are considered trash, and then you have other species like pompano, cobia, kingfish that, you know, are considered good fish, that are considered trophies when you're fishing on the pier? Like any other loaded question, there's multiple reasons for this. Part of it is definitely the rarity of fish. The rarer species, the less common species are definitely more desirable. But that's not the whole story. The meat on different species looks completely different. A kingfish is going to be a little bit more gray, and it's going to have some sort of bloodline. And while a cobia is going to be a little bit whiter with another fat bloodline on it, but it's not nearly as oily as a kingfish. It also can freeze decently well. And a pompano, while it doesn't grow very big or fight crazy hard, it's one of the most desirable fish caught in Florida for its meat. And personally, I think they're really overrated in how they taste. So this begs the question, is a species like a jack or a bluefish complete garbage, or is there something else there? Now, I'll say I've cut into big jacks before, and they haven't looked the most appetizing to me. But I have talked to a lot of people that eat smaller jacks, and they say that it's absolutely fine. also talked to a ton of people that love eating bluefish, and they absolutely don't know why anyone would ever call them trash. So here are my thoughts. Certain fish species just are never going to look that appetizing, and they're probably going to have a very strong flavor, like a jack, something that's going to be really red and dark on the inside. Other species, like a bluefish, are super oily, and they're going to degrade super fast. So if they're not taken well care of, they weren't iced properly, they weren't bled, they're not going to be that good at table fare. I also think back in the day when guys didn't have access to ice all the time, certain fish species would degrade super fast because they weren't iced. So we have that holdover knowledge that X fish is bad because it degrades super fast, and other fish is good because it didn't degrade as fast. But if you take that knowledge that icing certain species effectively, you may find that the original species that you thought was going to be junk is actually really good as long as you take care of the meat.
Check it out. We got our big old bluefish in the backyard. Been on ice for actually a day now. It was kind of late last night when I got home. But we're going to fillet him up. Already filleted one up, so I think I have a general idea of the best practices for these guys. But the first thing that I'm going to do is come over here and just hose them off. Getting a little slimy. I like to do this with a lot of different species. It just makes it easier to handle them at the fillet table when you rinse them off. Plop them on our cutting board. I want you guys to comment below how heavy you think this guy is. My guess yesterday was like 12 pounds. Honestly, they always look smaller after you get them out of the cooler. I'd probably say like 11 pounds now, but what do you guys think? If I long arm it, it's obviously gonna look a lot bigger. If I bring it back here, it's gonna look a lot smaller, but it's a hefty bluefish. I think this is my biggest one of all time. Really nice one, but they do get, I was telling Christina, they get over 20 pounds, so they get a lot bigger than this guy. Basically, very first thing I'm gonna do, just make that initial cut, kind of back towards the head, through some of the scales and everything like that. Then, I spin him around and have his back towards me. I'm just gonna take the tip of the knife, and I'm gonna work it back down towards his tail. And this is just kind of breaking that skin and initiating where the rest of our fillet will be. The meat feels not the firmest right now. He might have been a little bit more firm if we filleted him yesterday, but I think it'll still be good. I'm just gonna break it right here, just break through the skin. Now, I'm gonna find my way onto that backbone with our knife and work down the fish. Separating, slowly lifting that fillet with my one thumb, and there's a lot of feel to this. Again, you know, I've said this before in other videos, I'm not a professional filleter by any means, don't claim to be the best filleter on the planet, but we're getting the job done. We're feeding the crew. Now, back up towards the head, all we gotta do is break through those little pin bones that are kind of sitting vertically in the fish. Take the knife while lifting on the fillet, and I'm gonna angle the knife up a little bit more and kind of rip out. That should get us over top of the rib cage. Now we can separate the rest of everything. Now I can start working down that rib cage, and you can kind of see these ribs right here. Almost hear them. Work down. Get them separated down here by the tail. I'll let the rest of that fillet back up, and then we are off. We are separated. So, left a little bit down by the belly, but these guys actually have bigger rib cages than I expected them to. The ribs actually protruded a lot deeper into them. So, I'm gonna set fillet number one off to the side, and we'll work on fillet number two. Work back towards the head, just like that, and work on down. If you guys have any just banging bluefish recipes, I would love to hear them. Obviously, I'm not gonna know for this video, but maybe for the next time that I run into these big guys and I decide that, you know, this fish is actually pretty quality, it's not actually trash like everyone in Florida says, we'll try and eat them. Make sure we're separated up there, and then slowly find our way onto that backbone. Let's work down this rib cage now. Hopefully leave all that. Don't really poke our knife into any of the guts or anything. Wow, look at that. The ribs come all the way down to here. A lot of other fish, it's gonna stop back towards here. This is just a really, really long rib cage on these guys. All right, That's 2 big slabs of bluefish. I'm gonna say, guys, the meat on these looks different from when I've cut open the smaller ones. I think from what, I don't know if you guys can tell, but from what I gathered and what I talked with a lot of other guys on the pier about, a lot of these fish, these big bluefish, we don't get them here in Florida regularly. I haven't seen them in 5-6 years down here, and I think it only happens on like El Nino years, rare years, that you're gonna find these things. I think they live their whole life in cold water, and it's rare for them to make their way down here. Unlike the small kind of, tiny blues that we get, and maybe those tiny blues just spend their whole life in warm water. Typically cold water fish, better table fare than warm water fish, so I think there's a possibility that this fish really sticks out and eats a little bit differently than those small ones, the small gray mushy ones that we find in Florida. We're gonna skin this guy. What I noticed on the first one that I filleted is that there is a big fat bloodline on this guy. So as opposed to skinning it like a snapper, whereas I'm as close to the skin as possible, I'm actually gonna leave a layer of meat on the skin to just get away from some of that bloodline that I'm just gonna have to cut off later, because it's just so big, it's gonna be overpowering in any recipe. So I'm just gonna leave, or at least try to leave, a thin layer, and we'll see what it looks like after. And I'll apologize, guys, if you're seeing like little black marks on your screen, it's bugs. The bugs have found us. Christina is probably getting really pissed at me right now because the bugs love her, but she's a trooper behind the camera. All right, so didn't get as much off as I wanted to. You guys can kind of see here how much bloodline is on this fillet. So it's actually gonna take a little bit more work in the kitchen and out here at the fillet table to remove some of that. I'm not gonna remove all of it, but I'm gonna remove a good chunk of that because that's gonna be a little bit overpowering for a lot of people. Some people like a really fishy flavor, but I think that's gonna be too overpowering for what I want. So we're just gonna cut some of that bloodline out of here. So I just had the weirdest thing happen with my truck. Maybe you guys know what's going on because I called a couple of my buddies and they had no clue. I drive a 2020 F-150, the 2.7 liter EcoBoost. So I go to the grocery store, just pulled up to Publix, truck we're in, fine. Go get my groceries in there for maybe 15, 20 minutes. Come back, go to unlock my truck. Key doesn't work. Or the electronic key doesn't work. Okay, manually unlock it. That works fine, unlock the truck, but no lights come on, nothing. It's just completely black in there, no sound or anything. Go to start the truck, no clicking, not like the starter's trying to do it. Literally no electronics at all. Like, what the heck is going on? This isn't a dead battery. It's literally like someone disconnected my battery or like there's literally no electronics. Pop the hood just to check the connections and everything like that. And then I'm just kind of staring at it, Googling some stuff on my phone. And after like 4 or 5 minutes, I see the lights in the cab come on. Then I hop in, truck starts right up. I've literally not had anything like this happen on any vehicle I've ever owned. So maybe you guys have some type of clue, but the good news is we got home and the groceries aren't gonna spoil. We're still gonna be able to cook this fish up, and the goal for tonight is to turn this bluefish into something spectacular. Christina is working at the hospital right now. She's been there for like 10 hours. She has like 2 more hours. So goal is for her to come home and I'll have a nice dinner ready for both of us to enjoy, and hopefully, that makes her mood just a little bit better, because I don't think anyone would be in a good mood after working 12 hours in the ER. So some of you guys might actually be curious where I get some recipes from. Typically, I just make stuff up, stuff that I've seen, make my own version of things, but I was gifted this book and Christina reminded me that I had it. So tonight we're actually gonna try one of the recipes out of here that specifically mentions bluefish. So we're gonna do this broiled bluefish with this green, don't know how to pronounce it, you guys can tell me, it's listed on page 70 something, green Zug sauce, Zug. It's Israeli hot sauce. Gonna make that on the side because Christina doesn't like spicy stuff, I like spicy stuff, and I'm gonna try and make something like that. But yeah, this
book has been pretty sick. I was actually reading through it for the first time. I've had it for like 3 or 4 years, and it's got a lot of good information on a lot of different things. I think you could probably find it on Amazon. I think my mom got it for me for Christmas or something like that. But for ideas when it comes to cooking fish, this is great. Like breaking down all the different kinds, how to actually process through, and to think through what you're going to do with specific fish. Definitely more knowledge in here than I have in my brain, and I'm going to learn a lot from just using stuff like this. So I actually looked up a video so you guys can watch it with me right now.
In English, this source name is referred to as zhug.
Zhug.
Now, in Hebrew, the Hebrew pronunciation, how do you say it? Zhug.
Zhug. Okay. Zhug sauce. We're gonna make some zhug sauce. Probably gonna forget that in a couple of minutes, so you guys can correct me down in the comments. But let's get to it. Make our zhug sauce. The base is olive oil, so I'm gonna do about 3 tablespoons or so. 1/4 teaspoon of coriander. Did call for a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin as well. However, thought I had cumin, do not have cumin, so we're gonna skip that. Also a 1/4 teaspoon of cardamom, interesting by itself. Got some salt. Also gonna do a pinch of ground cloves. Again, I'd never heard of this. Can you guys tell me what these are? What this is supposed to be? What kind of cloves? It just says ground cloves. Cooking is weird, man. Calls for some fresh cilantro. Guess I should probably rinse this. I guess I also don't need all of it. I swear every time I chop cilantro, it just goes literally everywhere. Maybe like a 1/2 cup going in our bowl. Some fresh parsley. Add all that parsley in there. And the recipe called for some Thai chilies. Couldn't find any Thai chilies at Publix, so just grabbed a serrano pepper. Should be similar amount of spice. Okay. Got our serrano pepper all chopped up. That's going in the mix. Last but not least, 2 garlic cloves. Gonna mince these. We're gonna take our sauce, pour into our little mini blender. So I'm making a Brussels sprout salad. Didn't realize that the Brussels sprouts aren't looking too hot when I was at the store. But if you peel the edges off, they look a little bit better, and then I'm gonna rinse them off. And I think it'll still be good. But since it's been kind of a while since I've talked to you guys, had a little story time with you guys, I thought it might be time to give you all a little bit more of my backstory, especially since we've grown a lot this year and like recently on this channel. So I grew up in Florida, grew up a fisherman, really got into fishing at like 14, 15 for myself. I'd always done it as a kid with my dad or with my uncle. But when I started learning it for myself, that's when the passion really, really took off. And man, it was like all consuming at times. Not all consuming, I guess, because I still, went to high school, worked part-time jobs, but that's fishing and girls pretty much is what, 15, 16-year-old Ryan was thinking about. And, when I went to college, I went to the University of Florida. I studied mechanical engineering at first, and then I ended up graduating with a degree in construction management. It was the first time in my quote-unquote adult life that I didn't really fish a lot. And, I thought I would have missed it, honestly, more it's kind of interesting. You know, I started to find new hobbies. I started, really get into working out at the gym, really get into running. At the end of college, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do after the fact. I started training for the Marine Corps, and then I really got into fitness. Whenever I would come home, though, it was like I snapped back into that same mindset of, I want to go fish. I want to do something cool. But when I was gone, when I was away from it, I didn't long for it like I was worried I might. So I don't know if there's any wisdom in that, but I just I kind of find it interesting that this thing that was so important to me and, is still so important to me, when I was away from it, I was able to find other things to, spend time doing, other things to quote unquote obsess over, learn about, and better myself through, preoccupy myself through, that weren't, the typical college kids things. I said this so many times on this channel and, on Instagram and everything like that when I get a chance to talk to you guys, but this is a weird, really weird world that we live in. And the fact that I'm here making food in my kitchen, and there are some of you at home watching this on your TV, on your phone, or on your computer, just hanging out. And it's so weird that I can do this as a career. And if I have any advice for, maybe not you guys, but just maybe if I was speaking to younger me, it would be to, no matter what job you're doing, where you are, whatever path you find yourself on, get the most out of everything that you're doing. Whether it was, working in a restaurant that, taught me how to talk to people that I had never met, of completely different age brackets and completely different income brackets, different walks of life. Learned how to communicate, learned when people were getting bothered and when they weren't. Working in a tackle shop for the first time, started to teach me a little bit more about business in general and really how to communicate and how to get people to do what you want them to do, especially when there was other guys working. And then, man, everything that I did in the Marine Corps, every job was so different, from directly leading Marines to planning operations to, moving around and doing legit exercises in California and northern Japan. There was so much to learn, and none of those things at the time were exactly what I wanted to do. And I don't know if you're ever going to be exactly what you're wanting to do. Arguably right now, I kind of am, but there's always, another cooler trip or another cooler opportunity. But I guess, again, if there's any wisdom in that, it's take every opportunity and learn as much as you can from it and get as much as you can from it, because you're probably going to use those skills down the road, directly or indirectly. I will say this is very laborious, making a Brussels sprouts salad. I don't know if I would ever do this again, the amount of time that it takes. I might just buy some, either if you could find them pre-cut maybe, but it's like I'm essentially like thinly slicing these, throwing away the stems, tossing them into a bowl, and then I'm kind of taking them in the bowl and then feeling around, making sure there's nothing that's too hard. And if there's something too hard, throw that in the trash. It's like this is kind of a process. This dressing that we're gonna use is gonna have vinegar in it, so it's gonna help soften everything up. So maybe I'm just being anal, I've never made this before. But yeah, this is a lot of work, man. I don't even know if I like Brussels sprouts that much, but here we go. We're trying to make something that I've never made before. Trying to put a smile on the girlfriend's face. All right, dressing time. Start with our base, gonna be at some apple cider vinegar. The vinegar is going to soften the leaves of the Brussels sprouts. Add a smidge of brown mustard, some maple syrup, some olive oil, The recipe called for maple syrup. I think I would have rather used honey, but it's already in the bowl, so that's what we're going with. And mix that together. A little salt, a pepper, and we'll let that sit. We're gonna put this on the Brussels sprouts 15 minutes prior to serving. So now we have the star of the show. We have our fresh bluefish. So this is actually, today is Wednesday. It's Wednesday evening. Caught this fish on Monday, and honestly, just from looking at it, this is as late as I would recommend eating it. It's a very oily fish, and these oily fish, while tasty, you know, they have a different flavor profile from other fish. Because of that oil content, they're not gonna last. So I would absolutely never freeze this fish. If you look, that bloodline has turned from a redder to slightly browner. I'm not scared of how it's gonna taste right now, but I just understanding that this fish is gonna decay super, super fast. And I'm gonna trim just a slight bit more of that bloodline off, and I'm also paper toweling it before we put it onto our bacon. I'm gonna place the fillets fairly evenly on this guy. We also have the oven on broil, on high, and the oven rack set pretty high. So I'm gonna touch these guys with just a little bit of olive oil, and I'll rub most of it on the rest of the fillet. And then we're gonna hit them with some salt, hit them with some black pepper. So I thought I was recording, but I was not. So I just combined together a little bit of mayo, a little bit of lemon zest, and a little bit of sugar. Need a little bit more mayo and a little bit more lemon zest because I went overboard on the sugar. Mix all that together. Gonna brush our fillets with that mixture. Again, we got the oven rack set pretty darn high, broil on high. Gonna do these guys about 5 minutes. I think internal temp's supposed to be like right around 130, but with fish, it's just gonna be when the fish starts flaking properly. Bang. In there. Set a quick 5-minute timer. So Christina just got home, so it's time to put the dressing on the salad. It's gonna soften up all the Brussels sprouts. Do you want to be in the video?
Sure. Okay.
You look great. How was a nice 12-hour shift in the ER?
It was absolutely terrible today. And I'm very, very tired.
Well, your country thanks you for your service. Here, go shower. By the time you get out of the shower, we're gonna have a beautiful dinner for you. Apple cider vinaigrette. Pour that all over here. It's not too much. And I'll just toss this guy by hand. I definitely can't be the only one whose pans do this when you get them out of the oven. So we have our salad, been in the fridge for about 15 minutes. I just topped it with some thinly sliced apples, and I'm actually chopping up some walnuts too. Give it a little bit more of a crunch. And we had some fancy cheese in the fridge, but it molded because all fancy stuff doesn't have preservatives in it. So we're going with the preservative-rich Kraft Parmesan cheese to top off our salad. So we'll go in with a piece of our bluefish. I'm gonna make Christina's plate. Bam. So I'm gonna give her 2 pieces because I'm not sure if she's gonna like this sauce. So I'm gonna drizzle a little sauce on one of them. And we'll come in with some of our Brussels sprout, apple, walnut salad. Okay. Are you ready? Oh, phone eats first.
I am ready. I am very, very hungry.
These kids and their phones, you know what I'm saying? They just never... They get mad when you're on yours, but they're allowed to be on theirs whenever they want. I actually really like that sauce. I don't think Christina's gonna like it, but she's gonna try. Does the salad taste like an hour of work? Because that's what I took. It's like, no. It's like an Israeli green sauce. Like zong. You guys remember, probably, but I don't remember how to pronounce it. We'll have to go back and look at the other clip. I'll play it right now. Zhug.
Now,
Zhug. A zhug sauce. I made it less spicy than the recipe called for. So I absolutely demolished my bluefish. If you would have told me 6, 7, 8 years ago that I'd be eating bluefish and really enjoying it, I would have called you crazy. But that just goes to show you that you might have some preconceived notions that just aren't true. 100% would do this recipe again with this fish and with other fish. Definitely more oily, softer texture than typically, you know, you're gonna find in other white fish, but absolutely, I was a big fan of it and would definitely do that green sauce again. How was your evening? Is it better than working in the hospital?
Yes.
Coming home to a nice cooked meal, is that okay?
Yes, it's the
And a
best.
glass of wine.
It's the best.
Don't forget to check out that video right there. See you guys over there.